everybody, and welcome to Mind Blowing Energy and You, bringing the woo-woo to everyday living, because woo-woo, well, really all that stuff isn't woo-woo anymore. It's usually based in science nowadays. But today we have an amazing guest that I can't wait for you to hear about. And first, though, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Lynn Profit with Living Currents Energy and Life Coaching. And just so you know, I have a workshop coming up March 6th. It's online, so it's quick and easy, and you can do it from your own chair at home. It's called Moving Mountains and Farting Freely. And yes, women everywhere do want to fart freely without the trauma of it all. So this is your opportunity, and you can check it out on my website at LivingCurrents.com, and or as well, you can also find my information at the end of this podcast if you would like to get hold of me. But for today, I would like to introduce an amazing lady that I had an opportunity to hear. I'm sure it was only a very small part of her story, but she kept me spellbound for a long time. So I can't wait to share more. And so I'm just going to go ahead and introduce Laurel Sabur. And Laurel, I am just going to let you run with this and tell everybody about what you do and just start into your amazing story because it's incredible. So welcome, Laurel, and thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Lynn, for having me. It's very much a pleasure to be a part of your podcast. So a little bit about myself is that I was born and raised in Jamaica, on a beautiful island in Jamaica, and I came to Canada in 2010 for school and decided to stay. So Canada has become my home, and it's been an amazing country that has given me so many opportunities and the gift of freedom to explore myself and to grow and evolve. And coming to Canada allowed me to meet a number of people with interesting backgrounds, like yourself. And one of the opportunities I've had is to travel. So I've had the opportunity of traveling to Kenya, which is more East Africa, and also to Ghana, which is more West Africa. And my opportunities to travel has been through working with NGOs and with organizations. So I've had the opportunity of working in Kenya, Ghana, Jamaica, and in Canada, and in various capacities. Currently, I'm right now the CEO of Nayaa Fashions, and we carry African clothing from Ghana, West Africa, and we distribute them here in Canada and anywhere that's needed. And in addition to that, I'm also the managing director for a social impact strategy firm called Reach Impact. And we like to describe ourselves as working at the intersection of business and community. So we really enjoy using business to drive social changes in communities. And yeah, I think, it's both the African Fashion Boutique and Reach Impact really allows me to bring together my love for people, my love for culture, my love for indigenous cultures, my love for community engagement, and of course, traveling.
And of course, traveling to the places that are warmer than Canada.
Yes, indeed, especially on a day like today, which is super cold.
Yes, it is. It's very cold. Yeah, but and your trips to Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit more about, kind of your personal motivation behind those.
Yeah, the very first trip that I made, which was to Kenya, was associated with my involvement with an NGO that does work in Kenya, and so I came in from the angle of being one of the funders on behalf of my Rotary Club that I was a part of. And we had a couple of projects in Kenya. And so I was very interested to go and see the projects for myself and interact with the people there. And the trip was absolutely just amazing because we spent most of the time in some of the most remote parts, very remote parts of Kenya. Spent some time with the Maasai people in the Masai Mara, the Samburu tribe, in an area called Jerusalem Village, and really learning and observing how learning about the traditional way of life and the social norms. But one of the biggest learnings from spending time in Kenya was learning about myself as a woman and the gift and strength that I have as a woman. And I'll tell you a little bit more about this. In Kenya, within the Masai Mara areas, amongst the Maasai people and amongst the Samburu tribe, women are responsible for the household, right? And it's everything starting from the construction of a home. A woman has to build a home by herself. So she spends 3 months, at least 3 months, collecting all the raw material. And the raw materials are normally sticks, mud, and cow dung. And they will walk for miles collecting the most appropriate pieces of sticks. And they will carry it on their backs for miles back to where their village is. And then they will have to construct the home by themselves. And if they're helped by their husband, the husband is frowned upon. So it's it's kind of like a part of their rites of passage of becoming a woman is to construct the home herself. So not only is she responsible for managing the household, but she literally has to build the house itself, right? And the beautiful parts of it is really recognizing the creativity that they have to put into the construction of their home. Because, you know, similar to our homes, they have bedrooms, you know, a kitchen area, storage. And I have a few pictures on my website for those who are interested to see how the homes are built, and a video of the homes. And they really, there's a lot of thought process that goes into the construction. So while spending time there, I remember a lady by the name of Maria, who, you know, we didn't share the same language, so we couldn't speak, but I felt so immediately connected to her, and she was extremely excited to show me her home and give me a tour. And she showed me where she keeps her where she stores her goats, and she shows me her bedroom, she shows me her kitchen, and she was so excited to have a guest, you know, to really showcase her creativity. And in that moment, it really, you know, she really taught me that not only am I resilient within myself, but I also have that creativity as well, right? And then on the flip side, you know, most often people will see people in Africa and you know, patronize people in Africa. You may say, oh, feel sorry for them. They're, you know, living in a house made of sticks and mud and not a house made of concrete. But when you really see it from her eyes, it's a home that she's extremely proud of. And so she really taught me to see life differently, to take a step back from what I think should be right, and to really embrace and appreciate a different way of living. And so a part of my mission working in communities is to really observe the strengths and creativities in communities and support communities to leverage on those strengths and and creativity, right? Rather than going in with a prescriptive way of, this is how you need to live, this is what you need to do. Because, you know, the reality is that there exists a value in traditional knowledge that a lot of these communities, remote communities, still hold on to, right? Similar to here, Lynn, in Canada, a lot of our indigenous peoples, they store so much traditional wisdom and knowledge that if we only just sat back and listened and learned, we could we could grow and do so much more in this country and in the world, right? Because there's a lot of truth that exists in indigenous cultures. So that was one key thing I learned going to Kenya, was really, she reflected that strength and creativity that I embodied. And I didn't know that. And sometimes interacting with other women really allow you to see a little bit of yourself, right? And it's more of a remembering that, hey, I have that resilience in me. I have that creativity in me. And so I'm extremely grateful for that opportunity that I spent in Kenya. And, in just to give you some context of some of the projects that we did there, we helped with the development of water containment, or I don't really know. I need to figure out the most appropriate word for it, but it's a constructed a water. I hope you edit this part out. So to give you some context of some of the work that we did there, we recognize that climate change is becoming a challenge for some of the most remote parts of the world. And unfortunately, yes, the most vulnerable communities, most vulnerable people are really suffering from climate change. And in Kenya, in these remote villages, they don't have running water, or they don't have proper storage systems for water. So they rely on the rain seasons. And so with climate change, the rain seasons are changing. They're not getting as much water as they would normally get. It's not coming at the time that they would normally anticipate water. And as a result, their food supply is impacted. And so what we realized was that we need to help them to be able to collect water and to have a proper water storage system. And so using the skill sets of the people within the community, they were equipped and empowered to create their own water storage system. So that water storage system collects the water, the rain, collects water when it rains and stores that water, and then they can use it for their farming throughout the time that they need to water their crops. And it's I think the whole point of community development should be one of equipping people in the community with the resources that they need in order to develop themselves, rather than going in and trying to fix or put in a band-aid solution on problems. So that's one of my missions in community development, is really helping communities to be empowered to address their own issues using their existing strengths and creativity. And in the space of community development, that's normally called the asset-based community development model, the ABCD, and it's really built on it's built, the whole theory around it is that humans have strength, skills, and lots of passion, and humans, we all are equipped with the solutions that we are searching for, right? And most often we need someone or a space to be created for that creativity to be channeled to address our own social issues. So that was in Kenya, and that was my first time to Africa, and I said it wasn't going to be my last. And so most recently I was in Ghana in West Africa. And that was my second time to Ghana. And my trip there had a more profound experience. I had a more profound experience going to Ghana. When I got there, the very first trip, there was something in my spirit that turned on. And I knew at this point that there was something here in this country that I needed to experience. And so I made arrangements to go back. And the connection between Ghana and myself being Jamaican is that it is believed that Jamaicans can trace their ancestry back to West Africa, particularly the regions of Ghana and Nigeria. And so going there and having my spirit ignited was not by coincidence, but it really felt that there was something there on a deeper level that I needed to learn and absorb, and that's what I did. So I spent 2 months there last year, 2018. And the trip, I went there without a plan, because that's what I felt in my spirit, that I needed to not go with a plan. And so yeah, I went, and few days before, I didn't know exactly where I was gonna stay, but I had a friend who lives here in Canada, who is from Ghana, who referred me to one of his friends. And going there, I had no idea who I was gonna be staying with, but I just trusted. It's like, okay, I'm gonna stay with a family. I don't know who these people are, but I'm gonna just stay and check it out.
That's an experience in itself.
Yeah, it definitely is. I remember walking into the home of this family, my host family, and at the entrance there was an elderly woman at the entrance, and I greeted her. I said, "Hello, good night," and she says, "Good night." And I later on learned that she doesn't speak English fluently, but she spoke a few words, that the general greetings. But as I touched her hand, I felt something really powerful. I don't know who this lady is, but I feel connected to you, and I like you. That's all that I felt. I felt that sense of peace with her. And then later on, I discovered that she not only is she a queen mother, so she's considered to be a queen of a traditional village, but her father and mother are from a royal lineage as well. So her father was a king, her mother was a queen, and this host family that I was staying with is a royal family. And to give you some context in Africa is that before colonization, Africa had some of the most powerful and largest kingdoms. And Ghana is known for having a number of such kingdoms. So Africa had its own, monarchies, its own wealth. It continues to have a lot of natural resources, continues to have a lot of wealth. And so the impact that colonization had was that a lot of these monarchies, their way of being was restricted, right? A lot of the monarchies, they fell due to either internal wars or just simply the abandonment of culture, of shifting more to a Western society culture. So some of the cultural norms and traditional norms, they may exist in some parts of Africa, but in some parts of Africa, they no longer exist. And in Ghana, they do very much exist. And so I stayed with that family who is of royal lineage, which means that royalty, the position of being a queen or a chief, passes down from one generation to another generation. So this family, as I said, is of royal lineage, and they can trace their royalty to centuries ago. Yeah, so it was pretty cool that I got to really meet and interact and really stay with our family and understand what the role of a royal family is. And one of the roles of a queen mother is she's responsible for issues related to women and girls within the village. So it's a very powerful position. And not only is she responsible for women and girls, she's also responsible for selecting the next chief. So that's a quite powerful position to be in. It's not the chief that chooses who is the queen mother. It's the queen mother that chooses who is the chief.
Wow.
So, yeah. So it's less of I guess I would say in that particular instance, there's still an acknowledgement of the matriarchal system, right? But there's still very much a patriarchal system, you know. But centuries ago, women had a very powerful role in Africa.
Yeah. Wow.
It's the trip was life-changing on many levels, because going back to your place of ancestry is a place where holds a lot of truth and wisdom for myself that I didn't yet know. And to give you some context, myself, well, Jamaicans of African descent, they are descendants of enslaved Africans who were taken from West Africa to Jamaica. And so much of our history, much of that traditional knowledge got lost throughout that period of slavery. So me going back was pretty much a search and journey to reconnect with that traditional knowledge that was lost. Because on a soul level, I felt like there was more to myself than I knew, and I wanted to go back and experience it. And so, you know, staying with her queen mother and her family really allowed me to observe the way of being, the grace, the dignity that she embodied, you know, the respect that is given to her. And that showed me, it taught me the grace and dignity that I should and want to embody, and the respect that I deserve as well, right? Even if I'm not crowned as a queen mother or not, but on some level, I feel like a queen, you know? And as a result, as a queen, there's a certain level of respect, there's a certain level of grace, there's a certain level of dignity that one should embody. And that's not something to take for granted.
No kidding.
No.
Yeah, like just hearing that, you know, like for myself, I can't quite imagine, like, I mean, just going back to the UK doesn't seem like a really big, exciting time.
Yeah.
Going back to the Ukraine for, you know, those parts of my ancestry, just, I don't know, like, but the experience you had, but I mean, the opportunity to meet a queen mother. Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Like, I mean, honestly, how many people get that chance?
It's true. And not just to meet her, but to stay with her, you know, because I was there, as I said, for almost 2 months.
Yeah.
To just go in day out and to stay with her and really respect her. And I want to also just extend the love to the rest of the family, right? Because the rest of the family was just so filled with love and respect, and so hospitable, that to me, their way of being was a reflection of what has been passed down to them from the queen mother and to the generations before, right? Because everyone in that household walked with grace and dignity and respect. You know, they weren't taken advantage of. They didn't allow people to take them for granted. They knew who they were. They respected others and demanded that respect back to them. And that was something I think really shifted how I saw myself.
Right.
But you know, the whole journey was a spiritual healing. I had the opportunity of going into some of the places where the enslaved Africans were kept before being shipped to the Caribbean, or what you call the New Americas, and just simply reconnecting, tracing back those same steps that they took. There was a feeling of release and freedom, because, you know, for myself, Lynn, I felt that I was carrying a lot of intergenerational trauma throughout my life, and it's something that a lot of people are suffering from, whether you are Black or white or along your ancestral lineage. There was trauma of different degrees, right? You know, there was lots of war happening in Europe. So, you know, in Ukraine, you know, lots of war happening in Africa, here in Canada, lots of colonial trauma that continues to be passed down from generation to generations. And so for myself, my journey back there was a process of really healing and kind of putting a stop to that trauma, that I could see with my own eyes, the impact that trauma was having on my family.
Well, I mean, like, that whole experience had to have been so, like, life-changing. I'm sure we don't quite have time to go through all the changes it created for you.
Yeah.
But how do you implement that, I guess, in a sense, in, say, with your business, like with your clothing and with your development? How does that fit in there?
Well, you know, the reason for starting the Nayaa Fashions was, you know, while spending time in Ghana, I fell in love with the clothing, the fabric, the jewelry, and of course, just of the culture and the many cultures that exist. Right. And what I found was that every time I traveled, whether it was to Kenya, to Ghana, to Jamaica, or wherever, there a lot of people would feel connected to another culture through my travels. And so I wanted to somewhat connect the worlds, the various worlds, whether it's the West world, that of the African world, through fashion and through travel, and, you know, through storytelling. And so what Nayaa Fashions does is really helps to connect worlds together through the sharing of creativity from the African fashion that's made there. So when I got back to Canada, you know, I brought with me a couple of pieces, and people just really fell in love with the fabric, with the jewelry, and of course they fell in love with the story that went behind each of the pieces of clothing item, right? And you know, what I've also learned is that there's so much in history that people don't know about, and there's so much in our current times people don't know about, where it's common for persons to not know much about cultures in Africa, like the beautiful aspects of just the beauty of the culture that exists there. And that's what I want to somewhat share the beauty of that culture with people who are just not fully connected to Africa, and share the beauty of that culture, as I said, through fashion, through storytelling, through travel pictures. And I think there's so much importance in just having some level of awareness of the beauty of Africa in a different way. Because unfortunately, what you see in the media is not always positive things, right? And so I want to change that. I want people to see that, hey, it's beautiful. It's our largest continent, right? It's one of it is the richest continent in terms of natural resources, right? It has all the diamonds, the golds, the various minerals that goes into even some of our electronics that is used, right? And so there's just so much more there to explore: the people, the music, the food, you know, and it's important to me. It's really important to share that, and to share that love, and to share that beauty that exists there. So that's where, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just thinking, you know, just as you started talking and the more you were talking about, it's like, well, as you can tell, I'm not exactly like a fashionable icon here, but I, just as you were talking, I could see, like, yeah, especially those clothes and those fashions for some reason, and I don't know why, because I'm not even sure I would wear them, but that really excites me. And seeing that connection that you want to make between cultures, all of a sudden it makes perfect sense to me that, yeah, that clothing would do some tying together. And they're usually such beautiful colors too, and brilliant and bright, and to me they're happy.
Exactly. They're really happy colors. They're really vibrant colors. And on an energetical level, colors bring healing energy, right? There is, the different colors have a different energy associated with it. And so for me, I want to share that healing energy through the vibrancy of the fabric, right? And you know what we try to do in terms of our designs, we recognize that, you know, the way of the types of fashion that we would wear here in Canada is a little bit more on the conservative side, right? We don't wear a lot of colors, or we don't wear a lot of combination of colors. And in Africa and in other parts of the world, they may do so. They may wear a lot of, you know, different colors and combination of colors. And so what we do with our designs is that we try to blend both the conservative and a bit of vibrancy from colors. And so some of our pieces for yourself, you know, you may think, oh, you probably would never wear that, but you would find that there may be a design that reflects a bit of your conservative taste in fashion, with a tinge of color on it, a tinge of Africa on it, right? And so again, it's really about blending the world. So it's not about matter of forcing that traditional African fashion on anyone, but it's really coming together and just bridging that, coming together at that intersection, right? So that bringing together the conservative fashion from the West with that tinge of, just a tinge, a dash of color.
Okay. And in my lifetime, did I think I would be having a conversation about fashion, and yet I'm absolutely intrigued by this.
Yay! That's awesome. And that's awesome. And so
what have you done to me?
That's it. And the thing is, like, and I will be more than happy to even help you with coming up with a custom order for yourself. So again, you know, if you say to me, Laurel, I don't want too much color, I like black, or I like solid colors, and we say, yeah, let's go with a solid color, and then we'll have like a tinge of African fabric on it, giving it some elegance and simplicity. That's what we try to do as well. And so I think, and I'm very happy, because that's our objective, is for people to be excited, and for people to have a different perspective and say, hey, I think I could wear that, or hey, I think I can connect with Africa in this different way, a way that I never would have expected.
Well, you know, and it's funny, because as you and I were chatting earlier before we started the podcast, is since my entire closet got KonMari'd,
yes,
I really realized I have a lot of navy blue clothes.
Do you?
A lot. And it was like, okay, a little color added to my fashion sense might be, you know, it would probably be a very welcome change, because I like brilliant colors. I like bright contrast. Like, I mean, my paintings, they're all that contrast.
Yes.
I love it. Why do I never wear it?
I don't. Well, I've just made a note, Lynn navy blue, So I'm going to go through my pieces, and if I have any pieces with navy blue with a dash of color, I'll let you know. Or we could explore and have something custom made for you.
Oh, custom made. Ooh. Yeah. See, I'm all about casual and cotton and comfort.
Okay.
And yeah, that's about the extent of it. As long as it's casual. I'm not a fancy kind of person.
Not a fancy. Okay.
No.
But you want something casual, but you still want something that, I don't know, if you feel good in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very much doable. I think
awesome.
That is very much doable. And, you know, as I said, it's really about bringing the different worlds together.
Right.
And acknowledging that, you know, here in Edmonton, we most people just simply like comfort, right? You want to just get up in the morning and just throw on something. But I believe I believe our aim should be throw on comfort, but look good and feel good in it.
Yeah. And it is actually, it's so interesting. Just the fact, like, even as you're talking about like connecting the two, it's interesting how when we look at the energy and the connection of us really as an entire world, we already are connected, but bringing in the physical manifestation of it is just such a great way to do it.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
I'm happy you've said that, because we are all connected, but somehow we, you know, I would say for majority do not think we're connected, you know. So there's unfortunately still a disconnect on our planet. And, you know, living in a multicultural country like Canada, we still have some disconnects amongst different cultures. And so I think it's just time for us to connect and to find those common threads, right? Because as he's rightfully said, we are all connected, and beyond the surface of things, we are very much the same, and we have a common thread that's connecting us. And, you know, going back to the topic of trauma and intergenerational trauma, you know, we have all these different cultures, but a lot of these cultures that we have here in Canada can somewhat relate to some form of traumatic experience, right? And I really think that the coming together really helps with that healing of trauma that is lodged within ourselves, right? That coming together through acceptance of culture, through seeing the beauty of culture, really allows us to heal the past and also therefore creating a gateway for a better future.
Yes, that was very beautifully said.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, actually, Laurel, I mean, there is so much more that we could talk about, but I'm going to have to shut her down for now.
I know. It's all good.
Just where are your fashions available?
So right now we provide things online. So you can reach out to, or you can check out www.nayaa.ca.
Okay.
And we do have an Instagram page that's nayaa.africa. And yeah, you could search through our things online, you know, reach out to me if you're looking for custom orders. And from time to time, we are participating in marketplaces, and we will make announcements of where we will be.
Okay, well, great. Because actually, just so everybody knows, I will put up Laurel's information here at the end of the podcast, so you could find Laurel. And I can't wait to come on in my nice new comfy yet African connected shirt.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, is it going to be like thermal and fleece lined and stuff for Canadian weather with an African flair?
No, actually, no, we haven't gotten there yet in order with our engineering and and the designs yet. But I think what we would recommend would be something that you could really enjoy during the summers.
That would be so fantastic. And Laurel, thank you so much for sharing everything with us today. And
Thank you.
I'm sure there is so much more to your stories about going to Africa. And when are you going back?
My hope is to be back. I'm not sure, March or April. Because we're in the process of bringing in new inventory, getting a couple more designs made. And yeah, so that's the plan.
Wow. Well, okay. Well, maybe when you get back, we will catch up with you and see where we have come from post your next trip to Africa.
Wonderful. Yes, that would be great.
Amazing stories.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lynn. I really appreciate the time. And yeah, it's really good to conversate with you. Yeah. And I look forward to sharing more.
Oh, and I can't wait to hear more. So it's fabulous.
Thank you.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks for being here at Mind Blowing Energy and You. And coming up in, probably the next couple of weeks, actually, I will have another amazing guest, Christina Marley out of Calgary with Courageous Self-Care. So stay tuned for that. But for now, once again, thanks everybody for being here. I'm Lynn Prophet with Living Currents Energy and Life Coaching. And if you'd like to reach out to me at any point in time regarding the podcast, my paintings, or my coaching, or my workshop, remember the workshop, Moving Mountains and Farting Freely, you can reach out to me at any of my contact information shown at the end of this podcast. All right. Thanks, everybody, for being here, and we will see you next time.
Bye.